In this day and age, everyone wants to be more productive. We are looking for various ways, tools, tricks, and hacks to optimize our mental performance. Companies are fighting over each other, trying to make the best products to get our attention. Productivity equals efficiency. How to produce more with less. How to produce more products, more content, more tools with less energy, less effort, and less time. Most people searching for productivity hacks have forgotten something very important. We're all looking at email hacks, to-do lists, time management, and organizers, forgetting what's most important, our health. From my perspective, focusing on our philosophy of motivation, on our real reason for grinding and source of enjoyment are the key here. We also tend to forget on our health when doing so, but if you work your brain the smart way, you can win in the long term. Now, the first tool we want to talk about here is a way to recharge in the middle of the day without using caffeine or caffeinated beverages. This is where power naps usually come in handy. Power nap is a nap that lasts 15 to 20 minutes and it usually results in an improved alertness, cognitive performance, and mood overall. It is a great tool to be used for anyone who had a sleep deprivation the night before or had more nights with less sleep, so it accumulated over time. The thing with power naps is you don't want to nap 60, 90, or 120 minutes, even though this might result in improved memory recall and decision-making skill. The problem with sleeping 60 or more minutes is that you will go into the deeper stages of sleep, of REM sleep, that will cause you to initially feel disoriented, fatigued, and groggy, which is, in scientific terms, usually known as the sleep inertia. A great way to achieve this is setting a 25 to 30 minute alarm and going to bed, shutting your mind off, and when the alarm hits in, wake up immediately. Not executing this correctly in sleeping will result in waking up groggy, less energized, and more fatigued than before. A study done in 2010 by Nicole Lovato and Leon Lack has shown the benefits of a brief 5 to 15 minute nap are immediate and last for 1 to 3 hours, while longer than 30 minutes can produce impairment from sleep inertia. 7 to 10 minutes of sleep were shown to result in increased alertness. The next powerful tool we can use is to know how to manipulate and get into the flow state. Now, flow state is usually referred by successful people or scientists as the state of being in the zone. This is a state where our brain uses less energy and has higher neural connections, and the brain patterns just click and everything flows smoothly. It is a full immersion and absorption into an activity that we're passionate and interested about, and it is an activity which flows very easily and we are very efficient in it. A little takeaway from one of my favorite books in psychology, Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience by Mihaly can't pronounce the surname. It is when we act freely for the sake of the action itself rather than for ulterior motives that we learn to become more than what we were. When we choose the goal and invest ourselves in it to the limits of concentration, whatever we do will be enjoyable. And once we have tasted this joy, we will redouble our efforts to taste it again. This is the way the self grows. He explains how the biggest and most risky or adventurous things are accomplished, such as surfing on big waves, or climbing a mountain with no security bands, or flying around with a parachute. This moment's coming from a state of flow and perfecting one's craft. A lot of successful people are known to spend a lot of time in the flow, whether they try to consciously manipulate or unconsciously just lose themselves in things that they're interested in. Usually the flow state is the characteristic of a highly successful and productive human being. My favorite part about this book is that he explains that these things where we develop flow state are not actually the things that are very easy and spontaneous or natural to do. These things are the things that we put effort in to learn a skill and get to a desired outcome, which means it requires us as an active human beings instead of being totally passive. If there's one takeaway from this, it's to optimize your life and environment so you can get into the flow state faster and stay there longer. Good tips will be to shut down your distraction, focus on passionate projects, and make more neural connection. For example, reread the last part of the article before you start writing the new part. As a nutritionist, this third one is my favorite. Eat brain-supportive foods. Your brain is a very complex neurological structure mainly made up of fats controlling over thousands of reactions happening in your body. I mean, think of it. Anything that happens from hormone secretion, metabolism function, temperature, homeostasis, organ function happens and is controlled by the brain itself. So the nutrients that we give this brain are going to be the ones that are going to fill up his structure and are going to be the ones that are going to fuel up his actions. So eating healthy foods, especially healthy fats and proteins, are great for the brain. These foods that we're going to talk about can improve brain performance over time gradually. They can reduce inflammation, improve focus, alertness, increase mental performance, increase cognitive function, boost mood, and a lot of other things. But the point here is the effects won't be felt as immediately as with taking drugs such as caffeine. The thing is that drugs have negative side effects, or at least can cause some mild addiction, while these foods are the natural alternative to these drugs, which can make your brain better, more efficient, and make you smarter in the long run. So what does our brain like to eat? He likes proteins and individual amino acids, which are the building block and the main brain developing nutrients. Amino acids contain precursors to neurotransmitters, which are signaling molecules affecting mood, learning, behavior, and memory. High-quality protein and amino acid-rich brain foods are dark chocolate, lean turkey, lean chicken, eggs, soybeans, wild salmon, and firm tofu. Our brain also likes fats, especially healthy ones. Eating foods higher in omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids was shown to significantly improve cognition, modify brain activations, and protect your brain. In opposition, you want to reduce trans fats and processed saturated food. The highest omega-3 foods you want to add are herring, salmon, mackerel, oysters, walnuts, flaxseed oil, and chia seeds. The foods you try to stay away from are margarines, french fries, pastry, and junk food. The brain will also benefit from antioxidants, which reduce oxidative stress, DNA damage, and inflammation in your body. Reducing inflammation can speed up nerve regeneration and increase brain performance. Invest in plant-based, whole, and antioxidant-rich foods like blueberry, ginger, broccoli, lemon, goji berries, spinach, and beetroot. The fourth on our list is to learn how to remove distractions. Now, this may sound cliche like turning off our notifications, but usually in our lives we didn't really master this part, so I think it's still crucial to think on. I've heard in a couple different podcasts on spirituality that monks were actually given IMAX. When they were asked how do they stay focused, alert, and awake with technology introduction, their answer was very short and simple. Something you know. They said there's a button which can turn off notifications with one click, but you have to do it. Now, we all know that notifications can just pop out and distract us from anything that we're doing. Now imagine a scenario where you're completely in a flow state, writing an article, painting a painting, running outside, and your phone beeps out and you see that your ex-friend who you haven't seen 10 years from high school is having a birthday. Who cares? He's a anyway. But the point of the talk is, this notification will disrupt your flow and it won't result in anything good while it wasn't really an emergency. Now, we usually tend to mask notifications as an emergency, like what if someone calls me or messages me, but the reality is if someone is that important to you, he or she would have your number and will call you if it's an emergency. Of course, in case you're working on a time deadline project or there is a specific person you want to be in contact with, turn the notifications on just for them or ask them to call you if it's an emergency. For me personally, making my notifications silent has helped a lot. Also, setting up a private station where you can work, whether that's from home or just setting up a little boundaries at work, can be a great start. This doesn't mean you have to lock yourself for 20 hours a day at home, which you probably do during quarantine, but the point is to set simple boundaries between work and playtime. Motivation is a force. To understand and be able to manipulate your motivation is crucial if you want to be successful in life. Now, motivation is very complex force that drives our actions and behaviors towards a desired goal. The thing with this is sometimes we do some work which we don't really enjoy and we call this acting up on self-discipline, and sometimes we do work just for the act of doing it because we like doing it because it's very enjoyable for us. There are three main pillars to structuring your motivation which you should know from the start. The first one is purpose. What is the real reason why you're doing something? The second is a sense of enjoyment, the joy you experience while doing the action itself. And the third one is reward or an accomplishment that gets that loop in, the cycle of dopamine running. Now, the first one is very important and is the initial thing you want to consider before you start to doing something. It is the basic block, the structure of your motivation, and the initial force which drives you to do these actions to achieve a certain goal. In the book Find Your Why, Simon Sinek says, If we want to feel an undying passion for our work, if we want to feel we're contributing to something bigger than ourselves, we all need to know our why. The next one is a sense of joy. How much do you enjoy your work overall? Now there's always boring things that we have to do, there's always dirty work, there's always extra work, but the thing is overall complexity, how much do you enjoy and love what you're actually doing? If the answer is that most of the time you don't really like or enjoy what you're doing, the problem with this is you're aiming at satisfying your ego rather than what your real heart desire is. And that's a problem, that you're aiming at something that won't satisfy your personal desires and you won't enjoy your life, meaning that you will spend most of the time grinding for something that you don't even like, which means you have to act upon self-discipline, and that's not really a good way to go. The third one is reward or accomplishment, and this is the thing that gets your dopamine and serotonin and endorphin feeling good hormones running. This is why we actually go to school and want higher grades, because our teachers and parents are looking at us different and are treating us different, and this goes on to program in a constant loop of dopamine and serotonin secretion, which makes us feel like we have accomplished something. So the first way to structure your motivation is to really understand and know all of these three pillars. To understand your reason, your true purpose and calling, why you're doing something that you're doing. To look up at different alternative ways that will make this work more enjoyable for you. And to have a constant reward system, external or internal, that would drive this dopamine and serotonin loop to making you feel good while doing so. For me personally, music makes writing easier. Editing videos in batch makes it more fun. Doing yoga while listening to chill step feels more fluid than following an instructor. Search and find your ways. Another smart tool is to celebrate your wins. Anytime you finish a job, you write an article, you edit a video, you finish a very hard marathon, it is great to look back, reflect, and celebrate your wins. This is a little smart hack that it might look dumb at first, but it's actually extending the dopamine trigger, and it's actually extending the time that you feel good about the project you finish. Because if you're just finishing everything and you're still hungry for more and not appreciating your past work, you're gonna get into a loop where you're constantly feeling that you're not enjoying life. Now, the point to this is when you finish your work, just look at it, appreciate it, put some music on, dance to it, do anything that makes you feel good and that can initiate the feeling of I made it, so that you extend the good feeling, which can in fact fuel you with motivation for the upcoming projects you have. According to Brilliant Living HQ, celebration can induce good feeling by increasing neurohappy feeling chemicals like dopamine. Plus, sharing success can inspire others to start on their own path. Another great tool to recharge your brain, just let a lot of this tension and stuffed information go off, is to practice mindfulness. Yeah, this doesn't mean that you have to sit and meditate for 10, 30, 60 minutes a day. This just means you should sit down, relax, and let your mind go, breathe in, and appreciate everything that is around you.
Last one, Juliet. And on the exhale, stop. 1.5 minutes, breath hold from now on. Feel, become aware of your body. If your hands and feet are tingling,
I'm gonna die. Sorry, couldn't last that
you're
long.
doing fantastic.
This increases clarity, improves alertness, and overall awareness. It is one of the most popular tools that successful and productive people use to clear their brains out. A study published in 2018 by Wendy Kersmakers et al. Has shown that workplace mindfulness has been associated with reduction in burnout, perceived stress, improvement in mindfulness, well-being, and increase in team performance, organizational climate, and personal performance. Last but not least is a to-do list. Now, as someone who researched for productivity, I figured out that most people who are going to click on this video already know a lot about to-do lists, email hacks, and organization skills, so this is why I'm putting it at 8th place. Now, the great thing with to-do list is that you can take some pressure off of your brain. Having to remember all those small particles of unnecessary thoughts can cause a train of another thoughts that go in the other direction of your desired one. This means that you have less space for creativity and productivity to spread in your brain, and you have less energy to focus on things that really matter to you. So this is where to-do lists come in handy. Write a simple to-do list that is usually not bigger than 8 elements, because this can frustrate you and make you anxious already in the morning. One thing that worked for me is to find 3 most important things I call highlight of the day and write them down. To wrap this video up, I have a pretty good B-roll sequence at the end that will enable you to understand yourself a little bit better and tailor your motivation and find a way to manipulate and increase your productivity the best fitted to your own individual needs. Thanks for watching. Your productivity is determined by your standards. For someone, 4 hours of studying a day does the job, while for others it takes 12 hours of grinding per day and they're still hungry for more. There are 2 main questions you want to ask yourself, and these are: why do you want to be productive, and how productive is productive enough? Wanting to be productive is perfectly fine, but knowing why is even more important. And remember, less is more and more is less. As Leo Paputo once said, simplicity boils down to 2 steps. Identify the essential, eliminate the rest.